Alright, welcome to another video. My name is Brian Hafferkamp and I am the designer and developer founder of Highway Web Consulting. I help small businesses and small nonprofit organizations and individuals create um, beautiful web presences um, for not cheap, but certainly for a better price than they can get from a lot of other places, and try to focus on being appropriate. So you're a small organization. Um, you probably can't afford as much as anyone else, but it doesn't mean that your web presence cannot be beautiful and that it cannot work for your organization, or that you have to have something that's not custom made for you. And so I normally work with small businesses and small business owners, um, sometimes startups, sometimes very small nonprofits, and I love to meet with, I love the interaction of the one-on-one or one-on-two, and being able to solve the problems of small business website design, essentially. And so, what I'm going to talk to you today is called layered web design. And layered web design is a new technique that I've been fleshing out and building out for about almost a year. And I'm just trying to solve some of the issues, especially with small business websites. A couple of the issues that I'm trying to solve are uh, what happens when you don't have very much content, which is the normal case for most small businesses, and when you also need a web application, or you need some sort of application that's mobile friendly, um, that's going to be able to reach out to people who are accustomed to using an app, quite honestly. And the way we've done that so far is we've created one page websites for smaller businesses or startups or whatever they are. The problem, one page websites are great, by the way. They have all your information. It's very SEO friendly. It's based on the web. So all those things are really great as compared to building a native web application that you have to download from iTunes, or you have to download from the Google Play Store or something like that. So the concept is great, but in reality, the user experience is not so great, because you have to scroll down, and sometimes these things can go really long, and it's just a lot of scrolling. And I know everyone says everybody's cool with scrolling, but essentially you're cool with scrolling because you have to, right? So people are just throwing everything on their website, and now you as a user have to spend your time parsing through all the information. Um, some of it is top level information, some of it is sub level information, but in a one page website, it's all given the same hierarchical importance. It's all on the same page together, and they can say, well, the important stuff is at the top, and as you go down, it's less important. But that's not the reality of a one-page website. The call to action, they expect you to get to the bottom, because the call to action on most one-page websites is at the bottom. So the expectation is that you're going to read through all their material, and some of that is not top-level material. So it's not a great user experience. On the other side, you have you have web applications, which are a great user experience, but when a design or development company or a developer wants to build a web application for you, they're going to charge a lot of money, and you're going to have a lot of content that most small businesses just don't have. They have enough content for a single page website, but they don't have the content for a full web application with a back end, and they're pulling the information in, and they don't have interactivity. There's just a lot of reasons not to build like an Angular based or React based, um, a framework based JavaScript application for a small business or for a small nonprofit that mostly has just a static website with a couple of interactive elements on it. So how can we bring those two things together? That was what led me to think about layered web design. So layered web design is an approach that says we're going to take the content of the one-page website, essentially building a one-page website, And instead of layering that uh, those sections in two-dimensional space and creating a very long, tall section, we're going to take those sections and we're going to layer them like a stack of paper, so that as the user moves through, you have a base stack or a base page, and then on top of that we pull to the front, or we slide in, similar to what you would have with a native application. We pull that information into the view, but you don't have to scroll to get all the information. So it gives the user more of a traditional web design experience or website experience, but it's essentially a one-page website. And where it bests the native application, or the downloaded web application, is that I call it a quick and dirty web app, because it's not built on technology that pulls information into the page and builds the page on the fly dynamically. All of the information is on the page. If you turn off JavaScript, you will see all of the page presented. You should see all of the page presented. So you have to kind of take some care in the way that you construct the website, but you can have all of the content on the website. This is good for SEO. This is good when you don't have a lot of content, but you need it to be impactful, so that when someone is searching, they're going to be able to find your content. And it's also really good for accessibility, which is a problem with a lot of single page web apps, is accessibility issues. So we're trying to solve several of the problems here, by not going to the poles, not going to the extremes of either side, but trying to marry those two things together. So I'm going to take you through my process, and it's been a bit of a process. I have this collection of pens here on Codepen, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take you through my thinking. So here's the first one. I started to really think about what can we do to a small website, a one-page website, in order to shrink it so that the user experience becomes a value to the user, and the user has more control over how they glean and gather the information. So this is the first concept. I've been fascinated for a long time, since I have a business degree. So I've been fascinated by Toyota for a long time, and they made a shift about, I don't know, 20 or 30 years ago, to something that they call just-in-time manufacturing. So instead of ordering a big warehouse load of car parts, and then somebody orders a car, they go and get all the parts and they put it together, they would wait until they got a car order and they figured out what parts they needed. They would get out, order the parts they needed, get them quickly to the plant, build the car, and send it out. So now they have a lot less inventory, a lot fewer things that they have to keep on in supply, because when demand goes up and down, now you just have a whole warehouse that's full of parts that are not going to get used. What if people suddenly stop buying that car, and you're stuck with a lot of parts that no one's ever going to use because no one's buying that car anymore, right? So they call it just-in-time manufacturing or just-in-time inventory, and it drastically reduced their inventory costs and allowed them to sell quality cars at a cheaper price, essentially just taking over the car market for Toyota. So here's an example of I'm talking about layered web design, and I'm showing you what that would be like. So here's an example of the flow, of the just-in-time concept. Give you a little bit of an introduction on it, and then if you wanted to read that article about the just-in-time concept, then you could click on the link and you could get more information. So you see, as a user, I'm having it introduced. I'm interested. Oh, what's that? I click. I get a little bit more information, so it's a little bit deeper. And this information could have been tucked away right here. You could have put it in another paragraph and just shown, and I would have been out of the flow of the page. And as I get out of the flow of the page, I'm out of the flow of whatever cohesive message you're trying to tell me. This is how we normally read. We get taken out, we come back in, we get taken out, we come back in, but When time is of the essence and you're one of a gazillion websites, you don't have time for people to jump out of your message and then jump back in, because they may not jump back in after they see whatever they're going to see. So you give them a little bit, and then if they want to go more in depth, then you give them an opportunity to do that. They're reading through your message a little bit more, and then you have this stat here. Uh, Normally there might be another graphic or something, but maybe you need to qualify this statistic, and so you give the statistic here. It's interesting. I'm interested in reading the article itself. So you click on there, but you've never fully left the message or the page. Same thing, you could provide a definition of what does that word mean. And these are just simple modals that you can pop up. Um, Instead of creating more space, more space, more space, and more scrolling, you're pulling that information that you would normally tuck into the two-dimensional copy, you're putting it behind, and then when I'm ready for it, I can click it and pull it up. When I want to see the photo, I can click it and pull it up, right? So the concentration here is on user experience, and the concentration is also on mobile performance. So this web page is loading a lot of content, and that content is all tucked away underneath. So I'm only seeing this, right? So there's a uniform message here, there's a uniform flow, and I'm not putting a bunch of stuff in the middle. All of those things are roadblocks for us mentally, and we're really good at handling them. But what if you could just flow? And what if people could click on things, and these are obviously places to click, and then they could get that information and bam, get right back into the flow. What if that was the reality of our experience? That is a more user-centric design. And this only has to be downloaded once, and all those pieces of content, maybe you would go off to another page and you would learn about this and you would learn about that. But what if you could learn as much as you wanted to, and I felt like I had control over what I was learning? Okay, so this is it. And then there's an efficiency of gathering the information. Some people are going to come and they're just going to read this and they're going to be like, okay, I get it. Some people want to know more in depth. Some people only want to go to that middle level of the modal. Some people want to learn more and more and more, and so they're going to click off the links that go off to another part of the website or to another website. So that's the general concept of layered web design, and that was where I started. This was my first attempt at creating something that was, some semblance of a website, that you would have. This is essentially just when you look at the elements, this is just a one-page. You can see here that it's full of sections. So this is only a one-page website, and all of this is being handled through this interface. So you have a traditional band here with links. You have a traditional kind of header. You have this nice little introductory photo, and when you click on the links, you get the information that comes into your screen. Okay, so using some things like overflow in your containers, you can create this sort of situation where there's a background image, but you're still able to flow text over it. So you're seeing that this is a much more native application type of feel to it than your traditional website, right? And then each of these, you can click off and do what you need to do. This could be connected to Google Maps, or this could be connected straight to an email application, or if this were a link on your phone, you could click that and then it would put it in your phone application on your smartphone, and then you could call you directly. So there's this is responsive, so you can create responsive web design, or create these websites using responsive web design. There's a back to home. So these are all very familiar concepts, but it's only one page being downloaded, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4 plus a splash page. So you have 4 pages of information plus a splash page, all contained in one document. This would just be index.html. So that's the initial concept. Then I started to kind of play around with layers and what that would mean. And so here's a nice splash page, and you can't see the girl, but if you open it up a little bit, you can see the girl. And when you click on it, how would you enter this? What are the kinds of things that you would do to think about? Most people are going to tap something. They tap it. Oh, well, here's a nice little menu that comes up. So instead of having a static sidebar or a static top, you can have a much more dramatic opening here to your business. And then each time you go through, you're learning more, right? So you can feel the application type of feel to this. Again, these are contacts and things like that that you would normally have. So you can feel how that starts to blur the application aspect. I pushed it a little farther. What if you had long form content, right? What if you have a really long menu and you wanted to make sure that everything was on there? There are multiple ways to do this. This was one just like easy way for me to do it. All the rest of this I believe is the same. And then here, okay, so now we're starting to get into a different kind of concept, which is lots of content hidden behind a small link. Okay, so let's say this is somebody's portfolio here, right, and just some different links here. So you learn about Joe through his through these different links. So you can see he has a portfolio here. So I'm just scrolling through. If you're on mobile, you would be able to flip through this with your finger. Again, just overflow. Nothing special about the CSS, and all of a sudden you have your contact information here. And when you see this, when you see these applications on mobile, you start to get a better sense of, what that might be like, what it might feel like. So I'm showing you how you would just be able to flip through his portfolio and be able to connect with him on different social media and stuff like that. So this would be an example, and one of the keys to the layered web design is that you see how quickly it pulls up. It feels like an application, but all this is just HTML, CSS, and a little bit of jQuery. The jQuery is not even very much. I could show you. So if you look, I don't know if it's going to put that in here. Yeah. So this is my jQuery here. You can see it's whatever is like 12 lines of code. So it's essentially very little JavaScript that's even being rendered or put to the page. And this is a very small type of site. But if he had done the one-page website where all of the sections were relative instead of absolute and stacked on top of each other, then it would create a long scrolling situation. But here you have a very unique design. It comes up without me having to do anything. It's all full screen, just like a native application would be. Okay, so I pushed it farther. What would it look like for a small business? Okay, so portfolios are a little bit easier to do, but what about when you have a little bit more content and you need more options, quite honestly? So again, we've created kind of a header situation here that it feels a little bit more like an app experience. And this will be for like a small restaurant or something like that. So you have your today's specials, and then you could put content inside of here. So if I want to know what today's specials are, bam, I'm here, I'm in it. I pull the information straight to me without having to scroll down the page to get to the specials of the day and to figure that out. I'm getting more information about the restaurant. You can see that you can feel the more native application type of feel to it. So things are sliding in and things are moving around, and you can even include links here. I did that to show you how you could do anchor links inside the content, so you can even play around. Once you build out these sections, you can put anything that you want into these sections of content. And then you would have the contact information for the restaurant, obviously. So if you needed more pages, you could actually build out more pages, but a lot of the information that you need, that most people are going to get to or need, is going to be right here, right? So like if you needed a menu, this was supposed to be indicative kind of a menu, so you could get to the different menu sections very quickly um, without having to reload another page or do any type of HTTP request. Um, and again, if this was open and you clicked home, everything would come back and you would be right back where you started. Okay, so this call to action doesn't have to be today's specials. Maybe it could be a call to action to book a reservation or whatever it is. So that was pushing the concept a little bit more to a full website. And then I kind of built out this little media player, which was interesting. Um, so what about a media player? What about something a little bit more app-like, right? So you could push that a little bit. So it has all the controls. These work. I'm not gonna play all that for you. Um, but what would it look like in a different sort of application, right? Um, and then just like we talked about with this one here, there's a lot that happens behind this little small clickable element, and the same thing here. So we have this tiny little element, but look at what all can be held behind this tiny little element. Uh, so clicking on the little element opened up a whole world of possibilities. So you can do text, place images, you can put video, you can even, this is my website, so you can even put a website inside of the pop-up window um, using an iframe. So there are all kinds of possibilities where you have this very minimal element, but you're opening up the user to a lot of possibilities on the other side of that element. So that's kind of a similar concept design-wise for layered web design. Okay, so all those aside, I took all of those things that I was learning and I was discovering and I was thinking about, and I said, okay, I need to build a website. I need to build something that is going to showcase what this might look like for a real end user. And so I created this small business layered web design template. Now you can actually download this template and you can make changes to the website, and you could just change all the different sections if you want. It's actually here on GitHub. I have all the code that I use. You can look into it. And then there's a little bit more about this particular website, and then a little bit of my thinking on both technique and also, why did I do this? What's the reasoning behind the concept? So you can check that out. So here we have your typical branding. This feels like a normal website, right? So it's all full bleed, and this would be your base layer that would always stay underneath. But as you click, you have more of a website look and feel. Okay, so inside these containers, and this is just what would normally be a section on a one-page website, but here it's been created to pop up and come up and be a static section of the website. Okay, there's supposed to be a header here that's not showing up, but each of these sections, you can even have a Google map. So anything that you can put into a website page, oh, there's the header, you're able to actually include on this website. And so we have a shop page. You can even have a full grid or cart or whatever you want to do. And like I said, this concept was created for mobile, so everything is responsive. You can see that you can even create a nice little drop-down menu. Everything behaves and looks like an application, and for all intents and purposes it is a web application. It's just a small one. So you have your normal services page. Again, that's responsive, so when you go to a tablet, that's what it looks like. And your shop can be responsive as well, and the contact information. So you can see when you click back here, you're back to it. And on your base page, maybe you have some sort of call to action, or you have some sort of way for the user to reach out to you. But you can see these are traditional things that you would have on a small business website, right? But let's see if we can get to the um, let's see if it'll download quickly. If it doesn't download quickly, I'll just back out of it. This is not indicative necessarily. I'm on a relatively bad internet connection, um, and some of this has not been optimized very well. This is all being loaded in from another outside service, an outside website. But I just wanted to show you the size. So 1.8 megabytes, which is kind of a heavy website, right? It's under the normal page size, but the kicker is you only have to download this once. If this were a normal website, every time I clicked one of these links, I would be downloading that 1.8 megabytes every time. So instead, I'm downloading it one time, so the total size of the website is 1.8 megabytes. Now, I could bring that down a lot. You can see here, I'm pulling in a font from the web that took forever to download. I'm pulling in some images and things like that. So you can see over here, some of the things are taking a super long time. These are images that it's pulling from another website. So if this were local and on a server, it would download significantly faster. But even as it is, it only transferred 1.78 megabytes. We could cut down the number of requests. We could cut down a lot of information. This was not optimized. It was just to show what can be done with the website. So again, this is 1.8 megabytes, 78 requests at this point, which we could cut down as well. And that only has to be downloaded one time. So the user has a different type of experience moving through this website than having to click and then wait for everything to download again if you're on a bad connection or whatever. So again, you can go to the GitHub page. Layered web design template is what you can download. You can download the files, clone them to your computer, or to the desktop application, or just download them all together and start creating your own layered web designs using this pattern. Another example, I started a blog to just do web design and development. It's called Zeros and Ones. And you can see here that this is essentially just a single page application as a blog, right? So all of these are links that pull up the blog posts. This is a work in progress, so I'm still, just working through it. But there's only one, there's only one website. All of the content is in this one page of the website. So, and I could create a little bit of hierarchy and stuff like that and create new pages by going to the different dates and things like that, so that it could trim down the web page size as the blog grows. But essentially you're getting all of this content all on the same page. So there's no need to download or to have an HTTP request for each one of these blog posts. And again, also, it's optimized for mobile. So we have a few issues here, but this will be your close button. The close button moves, as you go to larger sizes. And then the final iteration is, it led me to start thinking I'm in the publishing business, and the final iteration is about ebooks. Okay, so I have this idea about ebooks, which is breaking out of the proprietary file formats and the proprietary marketplaces like Amazon or iTunes, Google Play, all of the different marketplaces that have been set up to sell ebooks. They have determined the file structure. They've determined what you can use in order to get to that file structure. They've determined the devices. And to me, it just seems like the web has grown up to the place where we don't need those proprietary devices anymore. We can let books live on the web. And quite honestly, they can look better. And the interactions and things like that can be better for users than on an e-reading device. And they can include more rich media, and they can be read on any device, including, and I say this a lot, including a TV screen. So someone could read your book through an Xbox. They could read your book on a big flat screen TV if they wanted to, and then they could switch over to a phone and continue to read your book. And it's the same user experience, it's the same file, it's the same website that's sending out that they're accessing. So this is kind of a big idea for me, and it uses a lot of the similar concepts as this QD these quick and dirty web apps, and that's all it is. It's a single page web app that you're able to read an entire book on. And there are some issues still to be worked out as far as monetization and some different things like that, but this is actually, I'm calling them universal books, because they can be read universally on any device, and it goes beyond that. They can actually be translated in the browser just like you would translate any website page. So if you're using Google Translate could translate the book for you. And I've been told by others who live overseas that that actually is a way that they can read English language websites. So you can either provide a separate link to let's say a Spanish edition or something like that, or you could just allow the web browser to translate and it would be good enough. So some people can't afford translation into other languages, but if you could, it'd be a really easy and simple way to be able to sell books. And one of the great advantages of this is to be able to take out the middleman between the author and the user. So now the author is able to create a real platform where they can sell their own books, and they can take the full percentage of the money as a creator. Now it causes some challenges with marketing, so now you have to do all the work that Amazon was doing. You have to start to do that for yourself, and so maybe you get a smaller chunk of the pie, but you may wind up making more money overall. So this is a digital publishing concept, and I'm only showing you this because it's built with the idea of the layered web design. Now this is a version of Moby Dick, so that's where I started. Again, this is Moby Dick all on a single page, and you'll be able to see it's a single page application. And yeah, okay, so we skipped over to chapter 2 there. Excuse me. And you know, you can see from the scroll bar it goes all the way down, so you can read all of Moby Dick. Not everything's been downloaded yet. I apologize for my internet connection this morning. I'm not sure why it's so slow. But it is a full mobile application that is responsive. You can see that it's responding to the size here, and if you check this out on your phone, you'll be able to read Moby Dick on your phone. You could read it on a television, which will be large like this. You could switch back and forth from the phone to the TV, to a tablet. So it looks good on a tablet as well. So this is essentially a single page web app just like you would build a native web app. And it is your book, but it's your book as a website, or a book as a website, or maybe you do nonfiction, and so you can include pictures, videos, whatever you want, and people would be able to read this digital book anywhere, anytime, on any device, and they would be able to get the one book through one code base without you having to create multiple files or use some third party piece of software in order to translate it to a Moby file or whatever, and then you can't even get the rich media in there like you want to. So um, to me, this is a revelation and a revolution in digital books. Um, but it's all built upon this idea of layered web design. So we have the different layers. Uh, some of the layers are visible. Some of the layers are going to come in after you interact with it. And yeah, so that is the um, what I'm calling universal books, or uBooks. Okay, so here's a developer's quick start guide if you want to start making uBooks or trying them out. Um, I have the developer files here, also inside the build. You can see this is just the assets in the index. So if you have some skill and you're an author, you could just download the whole thing and then only take out what's inside the build folder, and then you start to um, put your copy into the index file, and then at the end of it you would have a fully ready to go interface just like this, that you can use for your ebook. So that's kind of an exciting development, and I just wanted to kind of span the arc of the idea of layered web design. I know this is a little bit of a long video, but I felt like I'm ready to introduce this now. I've introduced it to my team at work as a concept, um, but I think that the reality is, in a corporate environment, it probably doesn't have a real strong place. But for a small business who wants to provide a good user experience, and they also want to have an app online, and they also want to have a website, this is a good marrying of those two things, so that you can have a web app and you can have a website all in one without having to have two separate code bases or two separate types of applications that you have to continuously update and keep up, or pay people, quite honestly, tens of thousands of dollars. So here is the finally all downloaded. You can see um, that this is they're just jump links to jump you to the different chapters and sections, and then you would read it. So um, and then once you go to a more full screen view, then you get a nice little application header, and then you can choose where you're going in the chapter list. So I tried to create more of an experience of an application. What would that application look like if you were looking at it um, on a larger monitor, right? So if you go out to a 2K, what would it look like on a TV screen? Okay, so um, how would those things be? It's not the best reading experience on a TV monitor. I understand that, but the reality is, if you did want to take those kinds of people into account, you could. But on a tablet, it is a great reading experience, and you can add some visuals, some animations that you can't do. Those things aren't necessarily possible on a Kindle. Okay, so that was sort of the thinking with that. So if you have any questions, um, please let me know. I'm going to put the link to this collection of pens. So that's mostly what I've been going through here at the beginning, and I'll put the links to some of these other resources in here. If you have any questions about it, or if you think it's great, I would love to hear that. And if you see some potential issues, I want to hear that as well, because this is a real proof of concept, and I've built out some things to prove the concept. And now it's more of a testing, or getting it out there, stress testing it to see, is it real? Is it really a new way that we can build websites that will help smaller businesses or smaller companies, or to build landing pages in a better way? Um, and so I really need some feedback on that, because I can't create enough things to test every situation or every piece of hardware or software from every country. So if you're in another country, I'd like to see how it works out for you. You can tell me, how does it translate? Does it look good? Are there issues with the actual technology I'm using? So if you have any issues, please just put them in the comments. It's not going to hurt my feelings. I'm looking to make this as good as I can make it, because I think it's a concept that we're ready for in the world, and it's a concept that can help a lot of people, both in terms of time, from conception of the website to finished product, also in terms of the kind of money that they need to spend in order to have a website that will help them compete in a space where money is a barrier to creating something that's beautiful and nice. So um, those are kind of, and for the user experience, for the user to have a better experience of visiting a small business website or a small organization's website. Um, so trying to kind of help a lot of different stakeholders here. Again, just leave those in the comments of the video. If you watched this far, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I know it's a long video, but I'm trying to explain a pretty broad and big concept, and maybe as I go along, if you have any questions about technical aspects of how I made it, I can break it down into some smaller pieces, so maybe you can see how to actually go through and make this layered web design become a reality for a website of yours. And if you're interested, you're a small business owner and you're interested in the idea for your own self, please contact me. You can find, you can get a hold of me at Highway, just like it sounds, HIGHWAY, highwaywebconsulting.com, and feel free to send me a message there through the contact page, and we can talk about your project, and let's see if we can get the ball moving um, on building this out for your own website, and you can begin to delight your users while still providing them the necessary content and having search engine visibility and things like that. So all right, and if you like this, you can check out my channel. I have a lot of web design related stuff there. There's some different projects and teaching projects that I've done. Currently building out a CSS, kind of a CSS basics course, and so you can check that out too, and subscribe. So when you subscribe, you'll get updates as to when I post something new or when I'm doing something new. I appreciate it, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.